everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It's Wicked here, and today I thought we would discuss the basics of shading, like the best way to practice it, right? So I found the best way to practice, like the fundamental premise of shading, is with something simple and, has basic objects in it, but grapes are a good way to practice something simple and just let it go from there. So we're going to start, we're just going to sketch very lightly. We're just going to sketch our grapes out, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of overlap our grapes and we'll build them out. So we're going to draw it like it's still on the vine. And we'll go out this way. But essentially we're just going to fill in each row and kind of over and underlap in different areas and kind of just make it up as you go, or you can um, look at a picture of grapes if you want to. But essentially they're just overlapping spheres throughout, so you can just kind of overlap them and set them up however you want. Okay, so you can see how they look like they're one on top of the other. Let's put one down here. Essentially what this allows you to do is if you look back at some of my old initial videos where we're just talking about the basics, it's just like practicing shading in the spheres, and it'll allow for a much easier practice, and when you're done, give you a sense of like, wow, I was able to make that look like grapes, but still at the same time getting the basic foundations and fundamentals of shading in there. Let's draw another grape right here. And we're not going to do like a ton or a bunch. I'm just going to do a couple more rows. And you can see on the parts where I'm overlapping, I can just erase out that bottom area in there. And we'll just continue across the line. And while I'm doing this, I wanted to let everybody know that I am starting a new YouTube channel more designed for kids. So if you have any kids or you are a kid yourself and you just want to draw more kid friendly things, and you can go check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But yeah, I'm excited to start that and give kids a chance to jump in on this. Put another grape kind of hidden back there in the background. But yeah, it'll be probably once, maybe twice a week that I'll put something on there because I still want to focus here on the main channel. But again, just want to make it accessible to everybody. So if you have any kids who are younger and want to draw little cute things or animals, stuff like that, it's just going to be kind of a random, free grab bag type thing of just fun things to draw while you're maybe driving in the car, or you're sitting at grandma's house and you want to draw something, that kind of thing. Okay, so we got our grapes. Now we are going to put, I'm going to put like a little stem just so it kind of gives that feel of grapes. and put a little bit of a vine here. Again, we're just trying to sell the image, so when you show people, they can tell right away that it's grape. So I'm just kind of putting this in there for that purpose. And we'll just run the end of our twig right here. Just like that. Okay, so that way it looks like it's on a stem. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start with our basic lighting, right? So our light source is going to be coming in from this direction, right? So what I can do is I can take one of these grapes and I can kind of refine the line work in there. And then what you want to do is certain areas it'll be solid, like up against the edge, but the parts that are completely exposed, we really want to have that rim light. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like a little tiny circle right there. Okay, and then I'm going to go around this grape and I'm going to get as close to the edge as I can get, leaving a little bit of a rim light right inside of there. Right, and then once we get kind of like up here where the branch is kind of overhanging, we can have it touch. I'm just going to get as close to that edge as I can so you can see how it's causing this kind of a circle. And then what I can do is I can start filling this in, right? So my darker tone is going to be down here towards the bottom. It's not necessarily black. It's just kind of a dark gray. So you're going to put some pencil pressure on it and work your way up. And then as I come closer, I can lightly shade out another layer. Okay. Now if you want to, you can use your finger, you can use a pencil. Not a pencil, but like a sumi. And you can start spreading. And depending on how big you do your grapes, you may want to use like your pinky, just so that you don't overspread. What that'll do is kind of lightly blend that in. And then we want to keep that edge line clean. And then same thing in here. I'm going to lightly use my eraser to kind of erase out like a little glow or reflection. And then I can come back in with my pencil and just very, very lightly blend those things together. And that way I have a little bit of separation. And then I can move on to the next grape, right? So let's move out here. And we'll just kind of clean up that excess. Well, let's move out here to this edge here, okay? So again, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to outline that grape and make it more solid. Now this area where it's touching here and getting overlapped, I'm not going to get that glow or that reflection. So I'm going to kind of just go around again on this outside. And again, depending on what's going on in your scene can determine how your light's going to be. Again, I'm just going to kind of draw in this shape to kind of show myself where that reflection is going to be. And you know, we can kind of make it look a little bit more natural where it's not just a perfect circle. And kind of stretch that down. Okay, now this area that's closer to the other grape, obviously that's going to get a lot darker because it's being overlapped. And then again down here towards the bottom, that is also going to get some darkness in there. And then I'm going to lightly shade out by picking up my pencil. I can use my finger. I'm going to start blending that in. Now, if you don't want to use your finger, you can continue to just kind of work it out. Again, I'm going to take my pencil and kind of clean up those areas where my glow is going to be, or my reflection. Okay, and then again, I just take my pencil and lightly start blending and filling in up to a point. Okay, so I don't want to go too crazy hard. It's just a very light transition out, and the more you go over an area, the more it will start to darken, so you got to be careful with that. I really want to hit up this kind of area right here next to the grape that it's next to. Okay, so now we got two reflections on there, and we can move on to the next grape. So we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to just pick another grape. Okay, again, I'm going to pick an area, and it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We can just kind of make random shapes in here, right? Again, just depending on the scene. This one's still closer to us, so I'm going to kind of have that rim light on the grape. And again, since this one's being overlapped, I'm going to get close to that edge, and we'll darken that up so you can see how that stands out against it. And again, this lower portion of the grape. Make sure I refine that bottom line. Okay, so once we put that in there, we can start going out and then get lighter as we go. And again, I can use my finger to start to blend. Just be careful and control it so you don't bleed over into your other areas. Again, I can then take that and erase out a glare. Does not have to be perfectly rounded. And then I can take it and start bleeding and blending to a lighter shade. So like down here where it kind of went over, I want to clean up that rim line. Give me that rim light. Okay. And then we'll just kind of lightly fill that in. Again, just adding for a more smoother blend. Just get lighter as we go out. And just keep going over those areas. Okay. Now you can see how that's kind of more of like a harsh circle. So like what I can do is I can add some jaggedness in there. That way it's not so perfect in its shape. Okay. So again, we have another shape out there, and we can kind of clean up the rim light so that it stands out just a little bit more on the edge of the grape. Okay, now my camera's losing focus. Sorry about that. I hate these auto adjust cameras. Sometimes you have to give it something to focus on. Let's see if I just remove it. And there we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so now we're going to go again, but we're going to change it up some. Okay, so we come right here in this area. Now we do have that overlap, but what I want to do this time, because just the way our light is shining, we want to kind of, it's fading away from that area. So we're going to kind of come out this way. So I'm still going to hit this overlap with some darkness. Then I'm going to extend that this way. So again, you're just kind of thinking about different light sources. And then I can start lightly adding some right here. And again, using paper or your finger, you can kind of bleed and blend and smudge those colors together. Okay. So let's bring back a little bit of a rim light here. And erase that out. And then what we can do is start bringing back the darker areas. And then again, just kind of lightly blending back with what we need. Cut that down just a little bit. Darken this bottom area. Again, just kind of clean it up. Okay, and let's bring in a few kind of like hatching lines over the reflective area of the grape. So you can see how it's starting to bring it to life for us, right? So now with this one, let's bring a little rim light out here. So we'll clean that out just a little bit. And then what we want to do is just kind of fill that back in, leaving a smaller edge. Like that, okay? And then we just move on to the next, right? So while I'm doing that, we discuss, like the length of this video is probably going to be anywhere from, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. I really want to hit home that everybody's looking for the fast and easy way. I understand people's attention spans can be different, and I don't have the most glorious radio voice in the world, and I understand that. Having a personality is part of being on YouTube, but my main goal is I want to teach people how to draw. And a lot of people want the shortcut method to everything and want to take, what can I draw in 5 minutes? And that's not really the route to go, because good art, I don't care what anybody says, and I will argue with them all day on it. Good art takes time. It's not about how fast you can get something done when you're first learning. You gotta take the baby steps. Because then once you get good enough, you can start, really speeding up your process. Like right now, I could go faster. I could. But I really want you to see the steps that I'm taking to make this work. Because if you don't understand and put into practice those things, then you're really not doing anything but copying. Because you want to get to a point to where you can do it all yourself. where you're not asking for advice or watching a video. You're doing it all yourself. And if you're not willing to put that time and effort into it, some of y'all don't want to hear it, you just don't want to hear it, then you're not going to grow as an artist. You have to be able to dabble. And I understand some of you might be thinking, like, oh, well, I just want to draw anime. That's great. But, this right here, this basic foundation of shading, can still be applied to that. It doesn't have to just strictly be a cartoon form of anything. Having a foundation and understanding and realism can help bring whatever anime or manga thing that you're working on by yourself. It can bring it to life even more because you'll add that little bit of extra detail in there that's going to make it that much better to the viewer, whether it's something that you're putting in perspective. And again, I'm just kind of drawing in the rim lights first. But whether it's something you're putting in perspective, or a certain scene that's going to have, before I finish my statement, this area right here I'm going to make really dark because we have a massive overlay right here. Okay, so that shadow is going to be deeper. But like I was saying, just whatever it is you're trying to do in your artwork is going to be that thing that's brought together by having an understanding and basics for the fundamentals of art in general. And there's anybody out there who tells you you don't need that, they're lying to you and they're lying to themselves. Now, am I saying that they have to take the same journey and the same path? No. They may have legitimately just sat there and copied and practiced drawing their own things from comic books, maybe anime, stuff like that. But from that, you are still deriving those basic fundamentals. And it's making it possible for you to be able to do those things. Okay. So we're going to continue. As you can see, like I said, these parts where there's like a deep overlap, we can bring that darkness out a little bit more. But yeah, like I'm saying, the fundamentals is what you need to learn, and taking the time to even do something as simple as this can help you drastically in the future. And maybe you are trying to do realism, but I digress. I just think people have too short of attention spans to take the time to go through a whole video or follow along to really learn something. So now in this one, we're back towards the front. So if you remember, we had our full rim light going in there. Again, we have a bit of an overlay. So I'm going to kind of take my glare out this way. So on this overlaid part, we're going to kind of darken that a lot. Just so we get that ground shadow of what's laying on top of it. Like that. Okay, then again, I'm going to kind of come from the bottom here. And we're doing kind of a dark gray, so not super black. It's not like these underlying parts. Again, I'm just always thinking about where the light is hitting it. And sometimes it might be good to just go ahead and start with a reference. You could look up grapes, apples, oranges, whatever. And then if you want to, you can go on to more complex objects. And then learn how to shade from there. But we're talking about the absolute basic of basics, learning the fundamentals of shading. And honestly, I should have probably went back and checked and see if I even did grapes before. I'm not sure. Might have been cherries or something, but sometimes it's good to come back, not just for you guys, but for myself to come back and just kind of revisit things. because you can kind of fall out of touch a little bit once you get so set in an art style. And you might, like me, I kind of work on commissions and things. So, like, if somebody requested something, like they wanted a realistic drawing of their family, I can't do that if I've spent my entire time drawing cartoons, or stylized things or animated things. I have to come back to these fundamentals again and just really, hone it in. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to outline this next grape. Now, if you notice, there's a huge gap in here, but there's really another grape that's hiding down. That's how you can fill this in, is you can just make it look like it's a grape in the center here. So we're going to go ahead and kind of refine these lines of these grapes right here. That way we can find that part. And then like right in here, we can just lightly shade that in. There'll be a little bit of exposure. We won't see a whole lot of it. But it'll at least look like there's one hidden back here. Okay, and now we can do the same thing again. We can get our rim light going. And then probably start it about right here. Like that. And again, just kind of get my glare going right here. See, I'm just kind of using like a squiggly line. Okay. Now again, I have this overlap from this grape, so we want that to kind of be dark right in here. And then we start working from this bottom area. Again, I can carry that over to here just a little bit. Okay, so we'll start working our way out and then add in some lighter tones. Again, I can just take my finger, kind of blend that in. Now, if you want, let's say you wanted to go for more of a hatching style to it, you very well can go that route. And you don't have to do this kind of a hyperrealism, smudge thing, because this is like me just doing a basic. So like if I really wanted these to look super real, I could put things like maybe like water droplets on there, and some really, like, when you look at the grape, you can kind of see the like little lines and stuff that go into making the shape. Like, you can really take your time and try to press that in there. Now, that would be a really long video for me. I mean, there's probably some people out there who can do it really fast, but for me to do like super hyper realism, it takes some time. So this is just more of a shortened version of that, of going as realistic as we possibly can. Okay, so now we have this other grape that's out here on the outside. So we're just going to kind of refine that real quick. And again, thinking about the way the light's coming in, so this one's actually back here towards the back more. So we're going to have very little bit of visible glare back here with little to no rim lighting. And again, this is being overlapped. So we want that region to be a little bit darker. Like that. And then I can come in here. Get this lower region. Kind of blend that out. And now I can use my finger. Kind of blend it all together. Come back. And clean up my glare. And then you just start taking it and you start shading that in, getting lighter as you get towards your glare. So you want that to kind of transition out. So you're kind of going from a pressure to a lighter pressure to a lighter pressure as you work your way out. Okay, so something like that. And then you just continue to process from there. You just work your way back. So what we can do, let's just go ahead and knock this one out. So we'll knock this one out first and then go back across. As you can see, as we get lower down, we got more overlap, so it's less space to take care of. Now in this particular one, just so it's not so dark, we can add in our rim light again. Okay, and again I can add in any shape reflection that I would like to include this overlap right here. That way it looks like those grapes are laying on top of it. Okay, again I can come from the bottom. Just a little bit of pressure. And then lighten it up as I work my way out. Just using my finger. And then we can erase out our glare. And then we go back in and work our way out by blending it. And you're going to have to kind of use your eye a little bit to see if, you know, the blending is a smoother transition like what you're looking for. And, you know, from there you can kind of take, you know, whatever method you want. And this one's kind of more on the outside. So we're going to have our rim light come straight down. Let's kind of refine that line. And then just make it thinner. Back over here on this end. Okay. And let's kind of turn the glare. Let's kind of come out. That way with it. So you can see I'm just kind of like scribbling in whatever. And I'm going to hit that overlap. A little bit of a darker line. And let's come in here. And we'll start shading that in. All right. And take that. Kind of blend it in with some smudging. Come back. And bring in my glare however I want it. Okay, and then again, we just kind of start transitioning from dark to light with pencil pressure. So that's the key thing here, is how much pencil pressure you're putting in there. Okay, so we're just moving from a light area down towards the bottom here is going to be darker. So we're just kind of blending all that in and taking that way. And it's essentially just going to be, you know, the same thing for the rest of the grapes. So I'm going to stay on here and we're going to finish this. Again, if you've stuck around this far, I greatly appreciate it. I know, like I said, some people just don't like long form. They want the quick, fast, easy version. But I think seeing the steps going all the way can be very beneficial as well too. All right, so let's get our rim light going right here towards the bottom. And we'll take that up this way. And a little bit of a bigger glare in here just to kind of break that up. And let's darken our overlap. So like I said, you can see by adding in that really dark area, kind of giving us the depth that we want and that we need. Okay, so again, we can transition. Start from our dark. Again, not black, but just from our dark. And don't get frustrated. If you're doing this and you're like, oh man, I did it too dark, it doesn't look exactly the same. You think I got it right on my first try? No. It takes practice. It takes time. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it just really bothers me to see people give up or quit when things don't go right the first time, and it's like, it looks like garbage. It really doesn't. There's everything that you draw. There's a mistake to be learned from. There's something you can learn about. Okay, well I did this, and it doesn't quite look as good. And that's it. I can't draw. I can't do it. You can. But you have to be willing to put in that effort to get better at it. Does that mean you have to draw every single day? No, it does not. But you should be taking a pencil out, for 30 minutes or so every day. If it's something you want to do, you have to love the process of it. You have to love, excuse me, and really want to do it, like, in order to get better. So have that patience. Learn from each one that you do. And I promise you, it will be worth it. All right, so I'm going to break up this. So let's kind of color this dark right in here for this area, like that. But I want to kind of break it up a little bit. I want to kind of take a rim light glare all the way down, like across the top here. And then we can add our glare right here. But that way it doesn't look too dark in certain areas. Let's just go ahead and refine that grape as well. That way we can get our overlap right in there. Okay, so let's take our blend. Kind of get these kind of lighter grays as we go in. Again, you can use your finger. Kind of bleed that in. And get that glare out. And then again, just kind of start working your way from dark to light. And make it a nice, even transition to the next grape. So you see how we're taking this now. Now we got more grapes on here. went from basic circles to bringing it to life. And that's the cool thing when it comes to shading, is that's how you give it more shape and form, you know, to make it stand out. It's not a flat object anymore. Now again, since we're close to this back end, I'm only going to take my outer rim glow, rim light that far. Okay, and then we're going to take this area for a glare. Now let's just kind of darken this up from the overlay, and I mean overlapping from the other grapes. Like that. And then again, we just kind of work from a darker tone. Not black, just dark gray. Build that up. And blend that in. And then I can come back and put a little bit of jaggedness in there so it's not so perfect. Again, just kind of blend it in, going from dark to light. Okay? And now we move down to the next section. We're almost done. We made it halfway. Stem and stuff's going to be real easy. But let's move on to the next. So we're going to get our glare here for the rim light right here on this next grape. Again, I can kind of clean up anything that's gotten inside of there. Okay. And then we want to get that overlap from the grape. And again, we can start building our way out. And then we could just blend it, smudge it. Let's bring back our glare or reflection. Again, we can add some jaggedness in there just to break it up so it's not so perfect. Again, we just kind of blend our way out, going from dark to light. Just get lighter as you get closer to. I'm right now just barely pressing on the paper and just kind of going over those areas to get it to come out the way that I want. Okay. Let's clean up inside this one. And remember, you can pause the video at any time if I'm moving too fast. But we're going to, again, take our rim light and go around the grape to a point. Like that. Yeah, because I have this kind of overlap and deep recess in here. You can kind of fill that up right there. And then we can do the same thing just to a point right inside there. Again, any little bit you can add to give it some depth is the route you want to take. again, I'm just going to come in here, do like a squiggly glare. Let's hit up an area like that. And we can go lighter through here just to get some pencil in there. That way when we go to blend, we can cover that area. So again, I'm going to come in here, we're going to erase out our glare. Now, depending on your paper, sometimes you can run into, like if you're doing this on notebook paper, you're really going to tear a hole in it. But I mean, you got to work with what you got to work with. But sometimes you may find yourself with some paper in a sketchbook that's just like bad for some reason. For some reason, it's the teeth, which is like, yeah, you know how the papers weave together. It may make it hard to erase, so something may not erase at all. And you're just gonna have to deal. Like that's something that's completely out of your control. But still press on and finish anyway. So again, I'm just kind of blending from a darkness to a light, working that in, making it even. And then I'm going to clean up my rim light. You may not have that issue, but I kind of bled over. Like that. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. We're going to clean up right here along this edge. Let's go ahead and refine our shape around, and we can fill in that edge right there. Okay. And then again, I'm just going to put in a full rim light right here. Like that. Okay. Let's get our glare established. Our reflection. Alright, and then we can start working it again. Like I said, we are almost done. Just have some patience. Please, I beg of you, you will be satisfied with what you have done when you're done. And let's get some color in there, just so that we can smudge and blend our images together. Alright, now let's bring that glare back. Really erase that out of there. And then let's come in and add some choppiness to it. Some jagged lines. And then just start building out again. And we're going from a dark to a light as you reach the center of your grape. Alright. So we're going to put that in. Probably go a little bit darker up here. Okay. Now we have this hidden grape again. So let's go ahead and round this. And then right inside of here, we're going to hit up these edges. Make them nice and dark because it's faded back in there. Now because it's so deep back, we're not going to need an edge, so we're just going to kind of shade that in right inside there. Again, just giving it some depth. All right. Same thing with this grape here. go ahead and refine our line work. And then in those spaces in between, we can just hit that up. Same thing here. We're just hitting that up as well. Okay. So now this next one's a little bit easier. We can hit this overlap here and kind of darken that line. Like that. And then what we can have is a little bit of a rim glare. And then I'm going to have a tiny bit right there. But since this is so small of an area, I don't have to use the smudging. Again, I can go from this farthest back point, work dark, and then lightly pick up my pencil as I head towards the glare. And then we can bring that glare back just a little bit. And then we're going to hit up this little bit. So what we'll do is something different here. We're going to kind of just establish our glare right there. For that little tiny bit that's showing right back there. And now we just have 5 grapes left. All right, so let's knock those out. And then we'll finish that stem. So now I'm going to clean up inside these grapes. So nice and clear for you to see. Okay, so I'm going to come and get my rim glare or rim light. Okay, I'm going to take that all the way down. Just because we got a little bit more exposure. Just like that. Now we got to overlap. So I'm going to kind of darken it right here. Okay. And we're going to put a little bit of a glare right there just so I have it established. And again, we're going to go from like a dark gray and work our way out. Like I said, if you've managed to hang in there and stay this long, I'm very proud of you. Most people bail within the first 2 minutes just because, like I said, they just don't have the attention span or the willpower. And it's nothing against them. It's just they want a quick fact answer, and that's fine. I appreciate them just stopping by and checking it out. Just like I appreciate you for sticking around this long. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what YouTuber you watch. If you aren't willing to put in that practice, you're only going to stay the same and not grow as an artist. But what do I know? I'm just an old man. Old man who don't know nothing. So let's build that out. Add a little bit of that jaggedness back in here. Remember, the closer we get to the glare, the lighter we pick up our pencil. Barely touching that paper. And we just build that up. Okay, let's move on. We got another grape to go. So again, I'm going to clean up inside so it doesn't mess with my rim light. All right, so this one we're going to get a full rim light on. So we're just going to go completely around a circle. Now you don't have to do these rim lights if you wanted to excuse me, if you just wanted to go in and just kind of shade without the rim light, it'd still turn out pretty similar and give you a good piece, look real enough. Now let's come in here and we're going to do again. We're going to start with that dark gray towards the bottom. And we're going to work our way out. Again, just add some color in there so that I can blend it. Again, you don't have to use your finger. You can use a piece of paper, tissue, whatever you want. Either way, it washes off in a sink, I promise. Promise you it's not permanent. Alright, and again, we can get our kind of wavy jaggedness. Go back in there. And again, I want to build out from a darker tone. And as I get towards my glare, I'm going to lightly touch the paper. But we're blending it from one shade to the next. And working our way out. Okay. All right, 3 to go. Now for this one, we're going to just put we'll put a smallest bit of rim light, like right here. Okay. Get it to focus back. It's starting to flare again. Hold on. There we go. Alright, so I got that little bit of rim light right here. And do a major glare right throughout here. And we have a tiny bit of overlap right here, so we can kind of darken that bottom line. And then we go with that dark gray. And just kind of work our way out, getting some color in there. And let's blend it all together. Again, we had a substantial kind of glare, so let's bring that back. Again, I can kind of break that up. And we can work our way out. Let me bring back the top rim light right there. Again, we start from a darker tone and get lighter with your pencil. That means pick it up off the paper and barely touch it. And work your way out towards that center. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to refine these last two. And then let's clean up any remaining lines. And before we hit those up, let's go ahead and get these darker overlapped areas filled in. Like that. Okay. And then we're going to hit our glare. just like that. And then we're going to get a little bit on the back end right there. Okay, we have a smaller glare this time. Let's hit up that overlap. That. And then again, we can start building our way out with that darker gray. And we can just blend it in. And let's get in here and chop that up a little bit. Some jaggedness. And again, we will work our way out. And get lighter and lighter as we get closer to the center. Just like that, and we are on our last grape. So let's do that. Let's get our rim light. And get our glare. Get that little bit of that overlapping shadow. Again, we can start building out. Get some color in there. And let's blend that. And again, we'll kind of chop it up a little bit with some squiggly lines. Again, start dark and work our way out. Remember, just to build up lighter as you get towards this center region. You want to barely touch that paper. Just like that. And now we are on the last step, which is to quickly take our twig or vine, whatever you want to call it. Let's get a little bit of an overlap right here. And we will shade to a lighter area because this is not overly important part of the picture. Again, come out this way. Thicken that up. Kind of lighter as we go. Out here. We start with that darker gray. Let's refine this top region. Yeah, we'll just go from a dark to a light. Okay. Now we'll just do the same thing with the vine. We'll just quickly trace over and refine our line work. Let's clean that up. And we'll start with that darker area right here. Same thing on the inside. Our sunlight's going to turn that down. And then we, of course, just build ourselves out to a lighter color. Just like that. And that is the basics of shading made easy by practicing on grapes. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Those of you that stuck out the whole video, feel free to share your work with me on Twitter. I would love to see how it turned out for you. Other than that, leave a comment. It's super important. It helps me guide this channel onto what you want to see. So if there's a different kind of art thing that you're struggling with and you want to see it, let me know in the comments. This channel is for you. I love teaching. So if you want the chance to learn something that you've had a question about, you need to leave a comment for me so that I know where to go. Other than that, if you're new to the channel, you like what you saw, go ahead and think about hitting that subscribe button. That's great. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful Monday. Remember to keep on sketching, and I will see you in the next one. All right? Bye.